Hello, and welcome to the webinar called Impossible to Possible. My name is Roland. I'll be hosting this webinar, and I'm really glad again to have here with me Eric Edmitz. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Roland. Good to be here.
Good to be here. I don't know I've lost the count how many webinars we've done together, but that's how it goes with doing things we do.
We've done a few.
One time, and you want to have next one. That's what I see happening with participants as well. They come to one of your events, they want to come to another one, and I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this seen Eric live or been to webinar. Actually, those of you watching here, let us know if you've been ever before to Eric's event, or if you've been ever before to Eric's webinar, and also how those events or webinars have been for you. You can let us know right away in the comment. And just for those who don't know, Eric is it's been a long time international business owner, business guy, and he's even owned a Hollywood special effects studio where they worked on films like Avatar, Iron Man, Pirates of the Caribbean, and so on. But he's also had businesses in different industries in different countries, and really great business experience, business background. But today we're talking mainly about self-development, changing habits, and making it impossible to possible. And also the feedback for Eric events have been incredible. I just have one in front of me that someone who attended Eric's two-day event, and she said, I feel like this 2 days I spent at Eric's event was worth more than 3 years of university. So that's a pretty big claim for a 2-day event, to get more out than three years in university. And she also stated that she's not a beginner, but she realized that there's so many things that she's focusing on the wrong things, and now that she has a much better idea which direction to go and what to focus on. So that's just one of the feedbacks we've heard, and also at 2015 when we did the big event in Tallinn, 2,500 people, and there was Robert Kiyosaki, and Well Forum was the event, and Eric got the highest rating both on the content and on the presentation side. So that's really why I'm especially grateful that Eric is coming back to Estonia on November 5th when we're having the Better You conference, which is going to be the biggest seminar conference ever held in Estonia, and then that's going to be really amazing. So anyone coming to Better You can let us know as well. Are you already coming there? Because one thing that we're going to do here today, we're going to give at least one ticket to someone who's going to be active, who's going to ask questions, who's going to answer you what we're asking from you to do, and also we're going to give away an online course on your habit code. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. So, and three main things that we are going to cover at this webinar is, first of all, how to overcome the habit of indecision and also doubting in yourself. Secondly, how to overcome procrastination and getting out of comfort zone. And thirdly, what it takes to make impossible possible. So, and also we're gonna let you know, if you're not yet coming to the Better You event, we're gonna let you know some amazing opportunity and some amazing bonuses that you're gonna have if you decide to join the Better You conference. But anyways, let's go into the webinar, and let's start first with why, and especially on the habit side, because that's something that I personally have to say that I kind of overlooked the habit side at some point, and the more and more I'm understanding how important they are. It's just so fascinating. So Eric, maybe you can tell why habits are so important in people's lives.
Absolutely. And Roland, even before I get to that, I'd like to share a different why, and that is why I'm
Sorry, Eric, can you put the sound? It was me, sorry.
Oh, all right. You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I will definitely talk about that why, but there's another why that I also want to talk about that I think is really important. And that is why I am so excited about this particular event and this topic, because most of the world, as you know, Roland, I mean, usually when I'm invited to speak somewhere, they want me to talk about business, entrepreneurship, sales, marketing, and all that stuff because of all the success and all the interesting stuff that I've done in business. And it's been many years since I've spoken more about personal development and how to live an exceptional quality of life on a personal basis. You know, something that can be used by everybody, not just by business owners. So I'm really excited about this because it's one of the most important topics there are. And so when we talk about habits, I have an interesting way of describing why I think habits are so important. And it kind of relates to this. So you, Roland, are definitely aware, and I'm sure some of the people are watching aware, that I've climbed Kilimanjaro 7 times. And so I tend to use mountain metaphors sometimes when I'm trying to describe something. So I use the mountain to create a similar example. So here's the thing. When you're going up the mountain, you have to have a habit, and the habit has to be to put one foot in front of the other foot and to keep taking another step. So you have this habit of walking. And every now and again, what happens in people's lives is that they have a hard time making really good habits. So they're going up the mountain and they decide they're just going to sit for a while. They're just going to sit for an hour. But now they're going to be an hour behind because they didn't keep their habit. So then they go, oh, well, geez, I'm a little behind. So what I should do is I should make a big sweeping change. So what I'm going to do is, instead of taking one step at a time, I'm going to stand here and jump as far as I can right now. And so then they jump, and they can jump like 6 steps, and it feels like they've made some real progress. But then if they try and jump again, then they won't be able to keep that habit because it was just too big a habit. It was just not the right kind of habit, when what they needed to be doing was taking regular daily steps. And then somebody comes along and says, oh, but I have an even better shortcut for you. Forget having to have a good habit. Get in my helicopter. I'll take you to the top right now. And so then they get in the helicopter and they go to the top. But the problem that they find at the top is that they're not acclimatized. They're not ready for the altitude. They aren't wearing the right clothes for the temperature. In other words, by trying to go too fast, instead of using daily habits, they've tried to make big jumps. They very often can end up creating problems for themselves. And by the way, you've probably seen this when you've heard stories of people who have won the lottery and they won all this money and then they ended up broke. And that's because they got to a place that they didn't have the habits for. So it's really important to recognize that your destiny, my destiny, is ultimately created by what we do every single day, not by what we do when we're inspired on December 31st to make a big change, or we go to one workshop and we make a change. No, it's about the habits that we create. It's about our daily, weekly, and regular monthly routines that completely will get us to the top, that'll get us to the summit.
Oh, this is really neat, metaphor, because I haven't heard that. I actually enjoy doing webinars with you on new topics that we haven't having events with. Anyways, there's regards habits. There's a lot of habits that are holding people back. So actually, one of the questions for those watching here, let us know what are some of the habits that are holding you back. What are some of the habits the main things that you feel that hold you back from getting where you want to go, or getting you into the shape you want to get, or getting you into the financial situation you want to get, or getting into the business you want to get, or job you want to get, or whatever. So let us know what are some of the habits that are holding you back. And I'm asking that because there's a lot of people, they want to have great things. They would love to make impossible things happen, but in sometimes it's even making the possible things or the obvious things happen, and they fail on that as well. If this happens, so why people fail on that? Why people wouldn't get to the things they want to get, or especially if it's something that is really outside of possible range in impossible section, but also the things that, you know, they aren't that big, but still people don't get there. So what do you think? What are the things that are holding people back most, or why are they not getting the places they want to get?
Well, I think one of the big issues is about it's about time perspective. It's about which time period are they paying attention to. So, you know, when you are when you're preparing to do something, like let's use going to the gym. I saw somebody here say that they've been working out a lot. Here it is. Martin says, now I'm doing regular workouts. I'm going to the gym. I'm swimming. So when Martin first started doing that, what probably happened at first was he's like, oh, I got to go get my running shoes and I have to find my gym clothes and it's cold outside. And so what happens is in that moment, if Martin pays more attention to the right now, the difficulty, the cold, the first 10 minutes of the workout, because the first 10 minutes of the workout is never fun, right? So if we focus on that time period, then we probably aren't going to take action. But if we focus instead on the result, like maybe how we feel after the workout, which is usually pretty good, or how we feel a year after working out regularly, or after 10 years of it, if we look at any of those time periods, we would definitely go for the workout. But if we look at the time period right here in front of us, then sometimes that creates a bit of a conflict. And so one of my favorite expressions is that you should always be living in the present to create a life that you will enjoy looking back on in your future. And you know, that creates a life that you enjoy in the future. So when you think about getting up in the morning and I'm going to go for a run or go to the gym or I'm going to eat something healthy or what have you, if you look very hard at the right now, then it might be hard to make that decision. But if you keep the whole time frame in mind, then it starts getting easier to make that decision. So that for me, I had a really good lesson of this from my friend Judd. We were sitting out by the pool one day, and he says, he goes, "Oh, I've got to work out." And my first thought is, "Oh, sounds like work," because I really wasn't enjoying it at that stage. And he goes, and so I said, "Oh, cool." And I didn't want to come down on his statement. I just, in my head, I thought, ugh. And then he says, "Yeah, I got to feel good." And I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? Because I don't feel good for the first part of the workout, but I do feel good after the workout. So you see what he's doing? He's talking about the result, not about the immediate action. And I think a lot of magic can be created if we move and we think about the result. We think about how it's going to make us feel in the future instead of how it's going to feel right now sometimes.
That's a good one. I see people giving us their habits that are holding them back. So procrastination is a big thing, staying in comfort zone.
Like, I like it. Look, Roland, Heiki. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Heiki, or how do I pronounce that name? Heiki. So Heiki, I hope you're hearing me. Listen to what you're saying. I'm going to tease you a little bit, but you've just said, my biggest obstacle is that I can't get consistent. So what you're telling me is that you are consistent at being inconsistent. In other words, you're very good at being consistent. And that's the trouble between the difference between good habits and bad habits. You're very good at being consistent. My guess is that you're consistent at trying things and not sticking with them, or you're consistent at doing things that you wish you didn't do so often, or you're consistent at trying to stop doing them, but then you start doing again, and it's consistent. So now what we have to do is realize you're actually really good at consistency. You're really good at it. We just need to move it to where you want it to be. I hope that makes sense. Sorry, Roland, carry on.
Oh, that's a really good example, because I like when there's like you kind of flip it upside down. Because I remember I actually did that to a friend of mine who was a singer, who's a really artistic guy, and he's like, I don't like any routine. So I said similar thing to him. So pretty much, if you don't like routine, so your routine is not having a routine. And that actually, he came back to me like a couple of years later and said that, this kind of changed his life. And, he mentioned that back to me. So I didn't remember telling that. But this is kind of also, if you think you don't have routines, this is your routine.
Yeah.
not having them. I love that. So, but yeah, but it's been fascinating, Eric. Like I'm seeing what you do like years now, and you can get results for people in so many different areas. Like, you get business owners to achieve business freedom and incredible results in their business. You get people being like terrified at public speaking, to getting on TEDx and doing speeches that get 5 million views, and you get people to change their diet and change their life and health, like totally. So what is the key to that? Like, how do you do that?
Well, Roland, I think part of it comes from that none of it was easy for me, so because of that, I really had to figure it out for myself. So for example, when you mentioned public speaking, like I was so terrified of public speaking that it would make me sick. Like really, I would make me feel like I would vomit. And so I had to overcome that. And I paid attention to how I did that. And so I looked at the step-by-step process that I had to go through in my mind to change that behavior. And it was the same thing when I created WildFit. I had major food problems, and so I had to study myself. So I'm kind of my first guinea pig. I don't know if you know the expression, but I'm always testing on me, and I'm always learning so I can teach. Whenever I learn anything, my first thought is, how will I teach this to people? And so I think that helps me to create a really powerful perspective for guiding transformation in people. And then the other thing is it's a strange thing, but sometimes I can just see what's missing. I sometimes can identify the way the person needs to see the situation or what they need to hear to help them to make that shift. And, and really that's what good coaching and mentorship is about. One of my favorite examples that really showed me the power of why it is that I'm so lucky that I've come to know people like, like Wayne Dyer and Tony Robbins and Robin Sharma and some of these just incredible giants that I've had the privilege to get to know. And that's because many times they had a little perspective or a little piece of information that really helped me to grow as a human being. And one of the best examples of this is, I was out hunting with the Hadza Bushmen of East Africa. And these are, very primitive is maybe not the right word, but they live in a very, sort of hunter-gatherer life. They don't have farming, they don't have money. And one day I went on a hunting trip with them, and I had the bow, and I could not pull the arrow. The string was so tough. I just couldn't pull it. And there were cameras there, and there were people watching, and my ego, guys, the ego, we have to deal with that, because my ego started like, oh my God. And the more my ego was hurt, the more I was struggling and the less I was achieving. And now I was coming up with excuses. And all of a sudden the chief came up to me, and he showed me to move the arrow closer to my body, move the bow closer to my body, which made no sense to me. It made no sense to me, because if I can't pull it like this, how am I going to pull it like this? There's no way. And then he told me to push the bow out instead of pull the arrow in. And so I pushed the bow out, and it worked. I mean, it really worked. And then I thought about that. So many times I'm working with clients and I'm telling them, bring the bow in. And they're like, that'll never work. That'll never work. And then bam, it works. And the habit is broken, or the new habit is created, or the new belief is installed and the old belief is gone. And that's really that's one of my favorite gifts to be able to give people. That's why I'm so very excited about this, because for the last 5 or 6 years, almost everything that I've been doing has been either related to teaching entrepreneurship and marketing or to WildFit. The chance to get back to working with people on their day-to-day quality of life is really exciting to me.
What is, I want to a little bit ask about beliefs as well, because when you went to Canada, like when you were from South Africa, you were born in South Africa, you're now a Canadian, but you were young when you went to Canada, so you didn't have the luxurious life. You didn't have parents who could say, well, open you all the doors, anything like that. So, but what has been the main belief for you that has helped you to get to the places you've been, like getting as an owner, as a movie studio, Hollywood movie studio. That's like, who has that? Like this belief that I could have that at one day, or getting into places where you are at the moment in different levels of your life. Getting on all those stages with, working with Tony and all those things. It's like, what is the belief or beliefs that have helped you get there?
I think one of them, and it does stem from, moving as an immigrant. One of the things that happens when you move as an immigrant is you don't really understand the local culture. And of course, your parents don't, when you're a kid, you don't understand the local culture, but you learn it from the other kids and you learn it from your parents and so on. But of course, my parents didn't know the local culture either. So what it meant was that when I went to school, I didn't know which sports were, I didn't know the rules of the games, and I didn't know which clothes were the right ones to have. And I didn't know what the best music was and all that stuff. Like that stuff was always really difficult for me. And so what happened was there came a point when I stumbled upon an interesting belief, and it had to do with being an immigrant child. And then also, growing up with my parents getting divorced and my father at that time, being a practicing alcoholic. And all of that stuff created a lot of uncertainty in my childhood. And so I realized when I was really young, like, if my life was going to be anything, it was ultimately going to be up to me. And that was a really powerful thing for me to get, is that my life was going to be my responsibility. And I remember when I was in my mid-20s, a very good friend of mine, he had played a huge role in my life. And then I got him a job working for the company I was working at, and we had a great friendship. But I knew he had told me that he was going to inherit $5 million on his 31st birthday, part of a trust fund, right? And I was so jealous. We grew up without money, and and every bit of money that I had, I'd created myself, and I was doing okay. I mean, at 25 years old, I was making 10 times as much money as most of my friends. So it's not like I didn't have money, but when I heard he was going to inherit $5 million, I thought, man, how cool is that? Right? But then I watched the way he was living his life, and he was living his life as somebody who knew that his future was being taken care of by other people. He wasn't taking personal responsibility. He was using credit cards, and he wasn't learning, and he wasn't investing. And it was really interesting to me to see him struggle, that in a weird way, that big inheritance was like a jail sentence. And when as a young man, I was jealous, but then one day I realized, wow, thank God I didn't have that, because I think if I did have that, I might have been lazy. And at the end of the day, I had to realize two really important things. If my life was going to be a success, it was ultimately my responsibility. That was the first one. And a lot of people get that one. But if you don't get it with the second one, then it's a problem. And the second one is that I am willing and happy and prepared to ask for help. So it's a strange thing, because on one level you think, okay, if it is to be, it's up to me, so I have to do everything? No. All I'm saying is that your destiny is your responsibility. And then it's your responsibility to access the resources that are going to help you to create a magnificent life. And that means being willing to ask for help. It means realizing that there are people out there that are getting the results that you want, and they have information you need, or they have ideas and strategies or contacts and resources. And so you ask for help. And so by taking personal responsibility for your destiny, but realizing you're not in it alone, and combining those two things together, magic can really happen.
Oh, that's a great one. And you watching this, you can let us know as well, what are some of the beliefs that have helped you, that have helped you further, or helped achieve things that may have been impossible to do at some point. And regards the topic that we mentioned we're going to cover here is how to overcome the habit of indecision and doubting in yourself. I guess that was something that you definitely got when you were there going to, as an immigrant. There was probably a lot of doubt and things like that. But how have you overcome indecision, doubting in yourself? Or what are some of the suggestions you would give to those people who are having these issues in their life?
So this is we could have a whole webinar. We could have a whole weekend on this topic. It's a really deep and important topic, but I think I can give some information right now that can begin to create shift for people immediately. So while it is a big topic and we could go really deep in, I think I can give some perspective that could make tomorrow different from today. So let's jump in there. So the first thing is that the way I look at beliefs is that, remember that ultimately what beliefs are is a logical connection that you've created. In other words, when you were born, you had no beliefs. And then slowly over the course of your life, you started to build beliefs. So if I cry, somebody will come and help me. Or if I fall, it will hurt, and so on. And so we start creating beliefs. And many of the beliefs we create are very functional. And some of the beliefs we create are functional for a short time, but not functional for our whole life. I'll give you an example. Imagine you have a 2-year-old, and the 2-year-old is on the couch, and the 2-year-old goes too close to the edge of the couch and looks down over the edge and sees the blue carpet. And then the 2-year-old falls off the couch and lands on the blue carpet. Now, the 2-year-old might make a belief: blue is painful. Blue is painful. Look, I have proof. I just fell on the blue and the blue is painful. Now, this could be a good belief for a little while, because tomorrow when the baby is on the couch and it looks over the edge, it goes, oh, there's the blue. Don't want to do that. And it prevents the baby from falling off. But the problem is that that belief is very helpful for a short period of time, up until the carpet gets changed or the child gets old enough and big enough to climb off the couch by itself. Now blue doesn't have to be painful anymore. But if the child still has the belief blue is painful, then it won't even climb off the couch, even when it knows how. And now the child is being controlled by its beliefs. So there are beliefs that I have, that other people have, that were created when we were 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 14, 26. There are beliefs that we created at one time of our life that were supportive of that time of our life, maybe, but that are not now supportive of it. So for example, when, let's see here, it's like somebody just wrote, I find it really hard to ask for help. Here it is. There it is. Asking for help was hard for me. Yeah, that's because when you went to school, while you were in school, you were taught something quite interesting. And that was that you get rewards for your efforts. And if you get help from somebody else, it's called cheating. So for many of us, we went to school for 12 years and we were taught that if we get help, it's cheating. And even if it wasn't cheating, it was still not full effort. Like if we worked with somebody else on a project, then we have to figure out who put the most work in to get the most reward from it. And so what we were learning is that it's only our direct effort that gives us reward. And so now when we go to ask for help, we're afraid to ask for help for lots of reasons. Somebody else might not want to help because, well, if they grew up in the same system, why do they want to help you when they're still too busy helping themselves? And the other problem is that if you ask them for help, then the two of you might get in trouble for cheating. And another problem is if you ask that person for help, then you might not get the full credit for the results you created. Except that was rules that helped in school. That rule helps in school, but that rule does not help in life at all. And so what we have to do is realize that when we have a belief, the belief has an optimal period of time that it was helping us, and then it has an expiration date where it's no longer helpful for us. The problem is the longer it seemed to be helping us, the harder it is to get rid of it. And so now we get to how you can begin to get rid of it. And that is to think about your beliefs like this. Every belief comes in pairs. So if you have a belief that you're not worthy, then there's an opposite belief that you are very worthy and very powerful. And the question is, which belief is stronger on any given day? which belief has more power over you on any given day. So if you're having this, I'm not very worthy, if you're having a self-esteem problem, then what happens is that belief is the one that's more in control. That belief is the belief that's going to control your decisions. It's even going to influence the way you see the world. And what it's going to do is control your decisions and influence the way you see the world to feed it. Because it's like a little virus. And so what it's doing is it's looking for evidence all the time that it's true. This is the ego. It's saying, oh, I'm not worthy. Look, there's proof I didn't get invited to that party. Oh, see, I knew I wasn't worthy. And so the more evidence that it sees, the bigger the belief gets. The bigger the belief gets, the more evidence it looks for, and you're trapped unless one day somebody tells you this, like today, like now. And you realize there's another virus in there, a positive virus that believes that you are powerful. I want to just point out some things to you that, 20 generations ago, 1 million people existed and survived the most difficult challenges in order for you to be alive today. 20 generations of people have survived famine and starvation and war and disease and the weather and food supply problems and all kinds of things. They survived the most challenging things so that you could be alive today. And then on top of that, and I know this is a little strange, but I want to remind you that your father produced 300 million sperm, and you're the one. You're the one that came out. And so you've got this other belief that maybe, just maybe, you're fantastic. Maybe you're amazing. Maybe you haven't found yet what you're amazing at, but if the other belief has been controlling you, no wonder you can't see it yet. And so what if you started feeding the other belief? Just snacks. Just feed it some snacks. Let the other one do what it's doing. But every now and again, you know what? When you do something amazing, like you come out of the grocery store and you see somebody there begging for food, and you walk back into the grocery store and you buy them a banana and you give it to them, then you go, you know what? It looks like you are pretty fantastic. And you give yourself another little evidence that you're fantastic. Your friend calls you and asks for help, and you help them, and they go, oh my God, thank you. I'm so glad I have you in my life. Oh, look, maybe I am fantastic. And then what happens is the more you feed that belief, the stronger that belief will get. And then one day that belief will just eat the other one. And then you'll be in a whole different world.
That's a good one. The better belief will eat the other, yeah. So there's questions that I see. There's a couple of questions that I see. There's a pattern people are asking. So first of all, Kaya is asking how to recognize belief, because it's quite hard to find out beliefs that are made in childhood as you don't remember them. And also Merit was asking about how do you overcome fears that are deep in your unconscious mind, are coming from a childhood. For example, I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, and so on. So how to first of all, recognize them, and what to do about them.
Okay. So let's talk about how to recognize the beliefs first, right? So, and this is a lot easier to do in a workshop where I can ask you questions and get answers back, but I'm going to do the best I can. So here's one way to look at it. And I can't remember who asked that question, but I'll put this to everybody. Here's what I'd like to know from everybody. Let's do it like a workshop. Are you guys up to do a little work? Are you guys okay with that? Let me know in the chat. But here's my question for you. How would your life be if things were different? Tell me in the notes here, how would your life be if things were different? I'm going to give you a minute with this. I want you to think about it. I'm asking you, how would you be? How would your life be? How would your business be? How would your health be? How would your life be different if things were different? And so as you think about that, you're going to find that maybe you ask, like some of you are going, it would be better. It would be amazing. It would be easy. I see all that. But now start to think about some of the specific things that would be different. Like, how would your life be if things were different? Would you write a book if things were different? Would you be a public speaker if things were different? Would you start your own business if things were different? Would you go out and meet the person of your dreams if things were different? Would you be more financially successful if things were different? Would you be an actor if things were different? Would you be a singer if things were different? You see, I'm asking you, what are all the things that would be different? Because now here's the question, and I want you to just stop everything you're doing, and I want you to type the answer to this. So immediately get ready to type this answer, the first thing that comes into your mind. You've got to do this all together as a team. And while you get ready, I just want to hear some people that are going, I'd be a writer, I'd be unstoppable, I would take action on a daily basis. So you'd see there's a lot of people with ideas. But now, here's my question. In order for your life to be easier, better, amazing, fulfilling, in order for you to write that book or to start that business or do whatever it is, answer me this question. What things would have to be different? What things would have to be different? So Julia, what things would have to be different for you to be a singer? Anne, what things would have to be different for you to be a life coach? Mick, what things would have to be different for you to have better habits? What things, Kaya, would have to be there for you to be a writer? What things would have to be different? And that begins to open up a clue as to where you think your challenges and obstacles are. So Katrine says, my thinking, okay, what thoughts would you have to have in order for things to be different? Jürgen, which actions would you have to take in order for things to be different? Igar, how would you have to deal with your time differently if things have to be different? And why don't you currently? So what I'm asking you to look at is some of you will have bumped into things like, well, if I was younger, I might do it. Or if I was better looking, I might go do it. Or if I knew the right people, I would go do it. Or if I had more money, I would go do it. Or if I had more time, I would go do it. But what you're hearing is that you have a belief. So Igar, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, you believe that you have bad time management. There's one of your beliefs. It's not true. It's just a belief, right? Katrine says, I would start asking for help. So the question is, what do you believe that stops you asking for help? Well, either you believe that it's up to you and you have to do it yourself. Or you believe that people would say no and you wouldn't want to be rejected. In other words, you believe you can be rejected. So you see what's going on here is that when you begin to identify what the belief is, you can shine a light on it. And some of you, even from just this little exercise, but definitely when we're working together, when we shine a bright enough light on the belief, some of you, the belief will just go. You'll look at the belief and go, oh, I can't believe I believed that. I can't believe, and it'll release. It'll release. And then we can start working on the habits because the belief is no longer holding the habit in place. So we can really begin to create some phenomenal change. Now, the other thing to remember with this is that sometimes we can shine a light on it, but that's not enough for it to go. And that's what comes to the second question, Roland, that you asked me about, well, what about life? What about trauma from when I was a kid? And what about when things happened to me when I was little and I made a belief back then? Well, here's my thought for you. And I really want you to think about this. If you have some event that happened in your childhood, and you don't even have to be able to remember it, but sometimes people do remember. They remember this one time when their father said this one thing to them, and now they've got a fear of public speaking, or they don't think they're very smart or something, or that their mother did this thing or that thing. Like here, I'll give you an example. Oh, Roland, this was so awful. I was walking through a mall in the United States a couple of months ago, and I'm walking through the mall, and there's a mother walking along with her 3 kids, and her one kid, I think it's the oldest kid, is her daughter, and her daughter's maybe 6 or 7 years old, maybe a little older, maybe 8 or 9, and she looks in the window of this shop, and she sees something she wants to buy. And she says to her mom, Mommy, I really want that. I really want that. And then this is what her mother said. Well, then you better marry yourself a rich husband. Oh my God. Think about the belief that little girl is going to create. That little girl, because you got to know the mother didn't say that only one time. Her mother says stuff like that to her all the time, possibly. And so that little girl is going to grow up with a number of possible beliefs. Here's one. Maybe she believes, oh, girls can't make money. Oh, the only way for girls to get money is to trade for marriage for money, to get a husband with money. Oh, another one, only men can make money. The poor little girl, she's going to create that belief at that age, and she has no idea. She has no idea. And so what I want you to think about, is this. Imagine that little girl had that experience, but now I'm talking to her and she's 31 years old, okay? And I ask her to go back into the memory. So I want you to go back to that day when you were on the street with your mom and your mom said to you, well, you better marry a rich man. What I want you to do is I want you to explain to me why your mother said that and what you really believe to be true about the world and the universe. At 31 years old, if she looks at the event, just the event, not the belief, not what she thought when she was 9 years old, but just the event, what she's going to see is a woman who herself has some really yucky beliefs and who's been controlled by money, giving her daughter bad information. And funny thing is that if she looks back at the memory with her current consciousness, she can work to release the belief. And you can do the same thing. Because what I really want you to understand is that nothing that ever has happened to you before or will ever happen to you again has any universal meaning. The only meaning that it has is the meaning you give it in that moment. And so that 9-year-old girl, when her mother says that to you, she creates a meaning. Girls can't make money. Boys make all the money. If I want money, I have to marry somebody who has money. That's the meaning she created back then. It's not a true meaning. We all know it's not true. Is it true? It's not true. We know that. But when we're 9, we don't know that. And so if when we're 30, we can look back at that memory and look at the memory just for the event, then we can create a new meaning. And when we create a new meaning and attach it to that memory, we can change our destiny completely and forever.
Wow, that's a really good point of view, and then all the concept, because it's, yeah, I think that's definitely helping a lot of people. So let us know if that was helpful. From here, I think it's good to go into one thing is like people understanding, now that they could understand what are the beliefs, they could understand like how to kind of overcome them. But then the next thing is that they want to go towards whatever they want to achieve in their life. And then the big guy called procrastination comes in and stops everyone for going anywhere. and also just it's just not coming alone. It's coming with a group of friends, and they're forming this zone called the comfort zone. So how to break those guys? How to overcome those guys?
Yeah, so let's deal with them as two different things. Procrastination, procrastination comes back to the very thing that I started with when we started this webinar. Procrastination happens when you believe that your present moment is about to become unpleasant. So you believe your present moment is about to become unpleasant, and so then you make a different decision to make it less unpleasant. So for example, let's say one of my tasks today is to write an article, but I don't really feel like writing right now. And by the way, this is dangerous because very often there are things that we really like to do, but it's just the starting of it that we don't like very much. So, you're kind of like, oh, I really do like it, but the starting of it, I don't enjoy the starting, right? It's like inertia, the getting momentum. And so what happens is I might look and go, oh, I just don't really feel like writing. So what that means is I'm saying that right now, I feel that this is unpleasant. So what would be more pleasant? Oh, you know what would be more pleasant than writing right now? Getting something from the fridge. That would be more pleasant. Or, ooh, Netflix. Oh, Facebook. Facebook would be really fun. I could go and look for the bottom of the Facebook wall, right? So what happens is in a moment, we make this flash decision that this is going to be unpleasant. And so what I would like to do is make myself have some pleasant experiences in the present. But what's really crazy is that if you just take one moment of consciousness and you think about the end result, if you just think about the end result, so you go, how will I feel when I finish the article? Fan-bloody-tastic. And so you start going, oh, I'm going to feel so good when I finish the article. I better get started right now. So you've changed the perspective. Right? So that's one tool. That's one way to think about it. It's like I said with my friend who said, he doesn't go, oh, I got to go work out now. He goes, no, got to go feel good, because he knows he's going to feel good at some point in the workout and at the end of the workout. So I got to finish this article. Not I got to write this article. I got to finish this article. I'm so excited. I get to write this article. How awesome is that? But now here's another hack. You guys are going to like this hack. You're going to like this hack a lot. Okay. So let's say I've got this article to write, and there's some research papers that I have, and then I write my article in Evernote. So, you know, I've got to open Evernote, got to find my research papers. I've got to get my notepad because I like to have my notepad to work on as well. And so, but I don't want to do any of that because I'm like, oh, it's the start. Nobody likes the start of this stuff. Nobody likes the start of anything, really. I mean, really, does anybody like the start? No. And so, like, I don't want to do it. You know what? I can do it tomorrow because right now I've got Facebook. Oh gosh, I could go and find the bottom of the Facebook wall, like Instagram, right? And so we like jump off to these other things, right? But wait a second. What if I made a new deal with myself? Because here's the thing. If procrastination is a problem for you, you know what you're very good at? Putting things off. So what if you put off your procrastination? Hold on. I know this sounds silly, but here's what I'm saying to you. I'm sitting at my desk and I think, oh, I got to write this article. No, I don't want to. Okay, you know what? You don't have to. All you have to do is open Evernote, get the research papers on the screen, get your notepad together, and get the right playlist together. So when you're ready to write, all the hard work has been done. And then you can go do what you want. So you can definitely procrastinate. You've got my permission to procrastinate. Just open the software, get the research papers, get your notepad, and get the right music playlist ready to go. Now you can go look at Facebook. Now you can go watch Netflix. Now you can go for a walk on the beach. You can go do whatever it is you want to go do. Now, if you do that, there's only two really good possibilities. One is, and I'd love to hear from you guys. Do you think this might work? You've done all the, like, you opened up the software, you got the research papers, you put the notepad down, you got the playlist on, and now you've done all that. You're like, what the hell? Might as well write the article. How many of you think that might happen? I think it's going to be quite a lot of times it might happen. But let's say it doesn't happen. Let's say you opened up the software, you got the research papers, you got the notepad, you got the playlist, and you still don't feel like doing it. No problem. Follow your bliss. Go get a healthy snack from the fridge. Go for a walk on the beach. Do something. But then there's going to become this moment, and you've all had this moment where you're doing something going, oh, I suddenly feel inspired to go write that article. Well, the beauty is your computer is all set up. All you have to do is walk in and start writing because you've done the icky bit first. So if it works in the immediate time, excellent. And if it doesn't work in the immediate time, it'll work in the future time. So this could be a hack that can completely transform your life forever.
Thanks for sharing. That's a good one. Again, so we're gonna give out a prize. So we said we're gonna give out some things here, and I want to give out for one person a new online course that is about to be created soon by Eric, and this is a course that I think a lot of you who are watching that are really excited about because it's about habits. It's your habit code. Eric, can you mention something about that? What would be this course about?
Yeah. So if going back to what we talked about earlier today is that your life is not really the quality of your life, your destiny, your future is not really influenced by the day you wake up and decide to make major changes. That's not really the big thing unless the major changes stick. And so what we have to do is work on developing a culture of habits that move us in the direction we want to go in, and a culture of releasing the habits that are getting in our way. And so when we talk about your habit code, what we're talking about is you taking a look and recognizing here are some habits that are moving me forward, and here's some habits that are holding me backward. In other words, one set of habits is like the gas pedal, and another set of habits is like the brakes. And so when we unlock your habit code, we take the foot off the brakes and we put the foot down on the gas pedal, and we can massively accelerate your quality of life and accelerate your manifestation. And so that's what the habit code is all about. Thanks
for sharing. And we are giving that away to Kaya. Kaya, you're the lucky winner because you've been active here in chat. You've been asking questions. You've been commenting. So Kaya, you are the lucky one to get the first of this Your Habit Code course, as it's been soon to be created. So we are not selling that here because it's not created yet. It's gonna be soon out there. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna soon tell you something. How you could have that, even though you're not selling that. How many of you would like to know? And also, I have a question. Let me know if you are not yet participating Better You. If you haven't yet bought your ticket to Better You event in Tallinn on November 5th with Eric and with Robin Sharma and other speakers. So, Eric, you have learned Estonian. You're just thinking, oh man, you've been here so many times. All right.
Yeah, well, I'm picking up some stuff with the help of Google Translate.
That you're not at Better You event yet. So, girl, you've been active here as well. So you getting ticket to Better You event November 5th. There's already 1,800 people coming. Eric's there, Robin Sharma's there. And those.
Can I say something, Roland? Can I say something really quickly?
Yeah.
I just feel like I really have to do this. First of all, if you're not really familiar with Robin Sharma, and I'm sure you are, he's a brilliant author and an amazing man. I was invited to speak at one of his events called the Titan Summit, which is, just to put this in perspective here, I think it costs something like, depending on how you go to the event, it costs something like $10,000 for the 3-day event. And I was invited to go and speak there. And so they brought me the year before so I could see what the event looked like. So my wife and I went to the event, and I was completely blown away by the professionalism, the organization, and by Robin himself. I mean, I was already aware of him. We'd never met before. Funny enough, he and I grew up about 5 miles away from each other in the same little town in Halifax, but we never met. And so then the next year I went back to speak at the event, and then I got to spend some time with him. And I want to tell you guys, I am so blown away that Roland is bringing Robin to you in Europe. Like you guys, this is a truly, truly great opportunity. Robin is not one of these speakers that's always out on tour and you can find him speaking. Tony's got a regular schedule. He's always got events and that kind of stuff. And no, Robin is truly, special in that way. And he's really good at creating really usable models. Like, here are some specific steps you can take. And I know you've all seen the speakers. And for those who've been to my workshops, you'll know I value that a lot. I'm not one of those speakers who's going to go, oh, I just want you to feel good and be motivated. It's about giving you specific strategies. And I just want you to know Robin is so good at that. You're going to be really glad you're there. Plus, I am really excited. I don't know if you can even feel it in me in this webinar, but I'm just feel it's so different than when Roland and I do a business webinar. It's like, yeah, let me show you how to do some marketing. Don't get me wrong. I like it a lot. I love teaching entrepreneurship, but I am so excited about teaching these core principles about how to create a phenomenal life. So I just want to put you guys, if you're not already there, let's make sure you get there.
Yeah, so I want to tell you something that is making that even easier for you to decide. So the one thing is, how many of you would like to, during the time, because there's about 7 months at this point when we're having the webinar, when you're watching that webinar later, it could be less, until the Better You event. So how many of you would like to have another webinar with Eric? How many of you would like to have another webinar between now and the Better You event to get your habits going in the right place, to get your beliefs going in the right place? How many of you would like to have that? Good news is that those who already have bought the ticket to Better You, or if you're gonna buy the ticket to Better You, we're gonna have another webinar with Eric. So this would be not just the Better You event on November 5th, but there will be ongoing things from now till there, so you could get more out of it. Second thing is, we're gonna make it even more crazy. We're gonna give you also, whatever ticket category you buy, we're gonna give you the habits course, your habit code. We're gonna give that as a gift for everyone who is buying the event ticket, whatever ticket category you're buying. If you already have that, you will have that later. You will have that as well. So could it get even better? Because this is a 79 euro program, the online course, which is already more than most of the ticket categories we're selling. So this, I'm gonna also put it out here so you can go and sign up for the event right now for if you feel like doing that at the moment. And I'm gonna add even more crazy things, because I know for our goal is really not for you to come an event and have some motivation and then go home and 3 days later it's gone. That's not what we're aiming for. We are aiming for the real changes. We're aiming for you coming back from there and saying a year from that this was the day that my life really changed. This was the year that my life changed, because it was not just the event. There was a bit of webinars, there was courses and things like that also supported that. So I'm going to add 2 more things. Yes, you heard me right. I'm going to add 2 more things. I'm going to add another webinar from my side. And this is about how to believe in yourself a lot more. How to build the self-confidence in yourself. Because I was the guy who was afraid to talk in front of 3 people. I remember actually, Eric, when I saw you first time speak at a stage, I saw you there walking on the aisle of the event at some point, and I was seeing people come to speak with you. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I was afraid of doing that. I didn't have the confidence for that. But now we're in a situation where we already have one business together, and we are in a process of getting into another one with Eric, and there's so many things that are happening, and I see a lot of that, how building self-confidence helps me. So I'm going to do a mini online course about that, and you're going to have that as well if you come to the Better You event. And also I'm going to do one webinar from my side as well during the time from now till the Better You event. So there's at least 2 webinars, one from me, one from Eric, and 2 online courses, one from me, one from Eric, that you are getting that are worth more than 100 euros. So it's already more worth than the ticket price. So it should be no-brainer for you. So we're gonna go into, you can ask still some questions. You can still, we're gonna continue a little bit of this webinar, but if there's anything you wanna ask regards to the event, if there's anything you wanna know, let us know. But and Eric, if there's anything you wanna add on, like regards this, because regards to there's so many people who come to event and nothing happens, but like having the persistence of having.
Yeah, I definitely have some thoughts about that. And here's the good news. We've done so much work in together, you and I, and we've done so much work in Tallinn that people know, for example, the way I teach business actually facilitates people making a change. It's not about getting them all hyped up. It's not about all getting motivated and inspired. It's about really teaching things in a way that creates lasting change for people. And so this is really what my goal is. My goal is not, and I know that it's your goal for Better You. It's not that people come to Better You and they're like, oh, I feel like, I feel all excited, but I don't know where to begin. I believe that this event is, it's one that I've been the most excited about, because first of all, I don't really get to talk about personal development so often, because people always want me to come and talk about business. People are all, look, money is important. I get it. But you know what else is important? Your life, your health, your family, the way you live day to day. I mean, that's pretty important too. And the other thing is that Robin and I are very much the same in one business, and we're very different guys, but we're very much the same in one way. And that is, it's about giving you practical, usable stuff that the day after the event, you will start making changes. And I'm not saying that you'll be miraculously a millionaire the next day, and miraculously thinner the next day, and miraculously happier the next day. But I will tell you this, the next day you'll feel different. And then the next day after that, you'll feel a little bit different again. And that's because slowly but surely, you will be making the incremental changes that you need to make to live a really exceptional life. And I want to share one more thing with you about this. I want you to consider, life sometimes feels hard. Life is hard sometimes, but I want you to think about the level of wealth that you live with. And it might not feel like a lot of wealth when you see somebody drive by in a Ferrari or a Tesla or something, and maybe you don't have one or whatever. But I want you to think about this. How wealthy are you compared to the great pharaohs of Egypt? How much would they pay to have access to what you have access to? Your phone? What would they pay for Google, YouTube? What would they pay for a car? What would they pay for hot and cold running water? What would they pay for food delivered anytime they want? Like, I want to tell you that you live in the very most exciting times so far in human history. And what we need to do is figure out how to take full advantage of those times. And I think that's what an event like this is all about.
Yeah, it truly is times where you can make impossible things happen because there's just so many like things coming out, like on the technological side and all that make a lot of things that used to be impossible in any terms totally possible now. And I'm just, it's so great to see people out there. Wow, and thanks, that's amazing. You're just too generous. We just want to help you make the decision. We get you out of the procrastination, get yourself going, and make the decisions that really truly take you in the direction in your life that ultimately gives you the life that you deserve to have. It gives you the life that you would love to have and you are deserved to have. So that's what we want to do that. And Eric, now let's a little bit discuss that. I know you're going to more go into the impossible to possible at the Better You event about this concept, but could you give a brief overview what people can expect and also something that they can take away right away?
Sure. I want to share something with you that we call manifestation velocity. And what that means is, when we talk about these days, there's a lot of talk about manifestation and how do I create things that I want in my life and all this sort of stuff. And the trouble is that we've all been moved into this world where everything is about instant and fantastic and amazing and right now and no cost and no risk and no hurt. And, like we're all in this world where people are over promising and under delivering. I'm sure you've all seen it. And so that's why what everybody's looking for is some big, phenomenal, cosmic quantum leap into the future that they think they really want. And what I want you to know is that those things do exist, but they're generally a really bad idea. And the example that I mentioned to you before is like, there's so many cases of people who win the lottery, so they have a quantum leap in their wealth. But the trouble is that their beliefs and their habits and their values are still trapped the way they were living before. And so very soon they've lost all the money, they've lost their friends, and they wish they've never won the lottery at all. And so what I want to do is I want to show you something better than big quantum leaps. And what that is recognizing that you have a manifestation velocity. You have a speed at which you improve the quality of your life. So this year was maybe 4% better than last year, or this year was 10% worse than last year. And so every year you've got a level of improvement or not from the year before. And what I want to show you is that there is a really clear way that you can improve every single year, and then you can increase the speed of improvement. So one year you can have twice as much fun or as twice as much wealth or whatever it is that you did the year before, but not through quantum leaps, but through finding a way to enter what you might think of as more like a jet stream, where suddenly your behavior and your beliefs and your habits are aligned with the direction of the wind anyway. And so suddenly things start to feel a whole lot easier for you. So I know that all sounds a bit theoretical, so let me give you something practical to work with on this. How many of you that are live on the webinar right now or watching the recording, answer me out loud if you can, or in the comments if you're here now. How many of you have already achieved things in your life that a younger version of you thought was impossible? I'd even like to know, what are some of the things that maybe you've done that you thought were impossible? And while I wait for your answers, let me give you some of mine. If you were to go back and tell me at the age of 19 years old that I would be a professional speaker, that I would speak in over 25 countries around the world, that I would visit 60 countries around the world before I was 50 years old, that I would get to speak, that I would get to tour for a year and a half with Tony Robbins, that I would get to buy my own movie studio, that movie studio would be originally part of Lucasfilm and I would get to work on movies like Pirates of the Caribbean and Avatar, that I would get a medal from the Canadian government for the work that we've done through our company WildFit. If I went back and told me any of those things, if I told me that I would be healthy and fit and athletic and strong, I would never have believed any of these things at 19 years old. So every single one of those things has come along and become possible, even though when I was 19, it seemed impossible. And so the question is, how do we do that? How do we move something from being impossible into possible? Well, I'll give you one clue. Not through quantum leaps, not through get-rich-quick schemes, not through overnight promises of instant results, but rather through consistent steps in the right direction with the right support around you and the right team around you. That's how. And so what does that mean? It means that we have to slowly work on our beliefs. Sure, you can do some radical therapy and change your beliefs in a heartbeat, but you can also start to feed the positive belief a little bit every day until it eats the negative one. You can make changes like that. And so here's one of the things I want you to think about. All you really need in order to change your destiny is 1% belief. If you have 100% belief that you cannot be successful, if you have 100% belief that all the great opportunities in the world are gone, if you have 100% belief that you're just not a good public speaker, if you have 100% belief that you couldn't write a book, if you have 100% belief that you can't have a successful marriage or start a business or any of that kind of stuff, then you're kind of in trouble, right? And so what a lot of people are going to try and do is go, change that belief, change it all right now. Okay, you could do that. And there are ways to do that. And I will share those ways with you. Right now, though, what if you were to start by just chiseling out and creating 1% belief or 1% doubt that that belief is true? In other words, if somebody believes that all the great opportunities are gone, when they see somebody start a great business, then they go, oh God, all the great opportunities are gone, and the belief gets stronger. But instead, what if they started noticing, oh my God, look, another great business got started. Oh, another great business got started. Then you start going, man, it seems like there's just an endless supply of really good ideas out there. That's a new belief that's taking place. And if you're struggling, for example, let's say you're single and you want to find that special magical someone. Well, here's what's really crazy. If you believe that it's really hard to find that magical someone, or if you believe that that magical someone doesn't exist, it's going to be really hard to find them. So the first thing you have to do is have the belief that they're out there, that there is somebody out there for you. And then the second belief you need to have is that you're good enough just the way you are, that you don't need to change yourself to meet that person. Because here's the problem. If you do change yourself to meet that person, then the person that is meeting you is not meeting you. They're meeting the changed version of you. And then they're probably changing themselves for the changed version of you so that you'll like them. Now you have to change yourself again because they changed themselves. And now they're changing themselves to change themselves. And you know, for the first 3 weeks, everybody's changing themselves all the time, trying to find the right person. What really works well is when you have a new belief. And the new belief is, I am enough. I am enough. I am unique. I am a 1 in 7 billion shot. I am unique, unless you're a twin, in which case you're kind of maybe 2. But you know, my point is that you are unique. You're amazing. And if you just start walking around the world in your amazingness, somebody's going to recognize you and go, oh, I like that kind of amazing. And then they're going to be attracted to the real you, not the fake you that you tried to be to attract them. And then they're going to go, wow, I like this authenticity. And then they're going to be the real them. And so all that starts with 1% belief that maybe you are enough. All that starts with 1% belief that maybe you can be a successful singer or writer or business person or actor or parent or husband or wife. And so I'm going to ask you, just for between now and better you, can you do it just for that long, right? All I'm going to ask you to do is try to feed the belief that it's possible. That's it. Don't try to go to probable. Don't try to go to definite. You go from impossible, and all you have to do is make one move between now and better you. Just move it to possible. Just possible. And here's some examples. If you want to write a book and you think it's impossible, look at all the people who have written books. That should be proof enough that it's not impossible. And if you want to go out and start a business and you think it's impossible, then look around at read all the magazines, read the newspaper, go online and look at all the examples of people who started businesses, and you'll start to go, hell, maybe It's possible. And if you start to think that maybe it's impossible for you to do something, then just look at all the times in your life when you've achieved a little more than you thought you could and realize that that's possible. And just focus on that between now and better you. And that will set you up so that we can really take the transformation to another level when we're together.
That's amazing. I was just thinking that if someone would have said me 10 years or more ago that, Roland, one day you're going to organize the biggest ever held seminar in Estonia, and also you're going to sing there and also take the stage there, I just wouldn't believe that. I probably would have just pooped my pants.
Yeah.
It would have been so scary for me because I was afraid to speak in front of even 3 people. So not talking about, doing
and you gotta be careful.
Singing.
And you have to be careful, Roland, because like, here's a funny thing. I'm a pretty possible guy. Like, I think of things as possible, but I'll tell you guys all a little secret backstage story. When Roland came to me and told me a couple of years ago that he was going to put on a really big event with me and Robert Kiyosaki, he says, I'm going to put like 2,000 people and it's going to be the biggest thing. I looked at him and I thought, it's not going to happen. It's Tallinn. It's not this big New York City or something. What's it? This guy is crazy. And this is why you have to be careful about your dreams, because even people that know well, even people that have your best interests at heart, even successful people, they'll have doubts, and don't let their doubts be your doubts. And Roland certainly did not. And he pulled off the most incredible event, still one of my favorite events to speak at over the last 5 years. And still people come, whenever I'm in Estonia, people come up and they go, I was there. It was amazing. And so here he is. When he came to me this time and said, I'm going to put on the largest event of its kind ever in Estonia. This time I was like, yes, you are. Because I know he is.
That's good. Thanks, man. Now the rest of Estonia will get to know you. Oh, yeah. So anyways, thank you for participating. How was it for you? Let us know if that was fun, if that you enjoyed that. And I'm just going to say that this is just really small, tiny bit of what's going to happen at Better You in Tallinn in November 5th. So you're definitely really welcome there. And then you, as I said, there's crazy bonuses. We're going to give you a webinar from me, a webinar from Eric, and 2 online courses worth more than 100 euros from me and Eric. So you are really, really welcome to be there. And thank you for participating here. And as Eric said, start with small steps. Let's just have the 1% belief. And by the way, Eric, I created a song called The Possible. So I can let you know about that, and we can present that at the event as well, possibly. We'll see.
Good deal.
And, I'm glad to see you. I'm happy to see you at the event, and glad to see you at next webinars that we're going to host, and also any other events, anything we organize, because this is still our mission to bring out your potential and then get people into their brilliance and get out to the world, give their gifts to the world and to people, as many people as possible. So this is the way I really believe, we can make the humanity better, because when people are themselves, when they do what they're supposed to be doing, everybody's happier, everybody's producing something good into the world, and that's what we are aiming for. So thank you, Eric, for sharing. Any last things you want to?
Just one thing, for everybody, if you guys have had a good time here, I hope you can see I don't hold anything back. Of course, there are things I could go deeper if we had more time, but I'm not holding anything back from you. My goal is to get you all the value we can. And so when we get together in person, that's going to be a lot easier. And I'm going to keep working on this. I want you to know that Roland approached me and he said, Eric, so many clients are so happy with Business Freedom and WildFit, and now they want to know everything. They want to know about parenting. They want to know about relationships. They want to know about setting the right goals and planning their life the right way. And would you consider teaching this personal development stuff? I was in immediately. And when he told me what his plans were for Better You, it was not even something I had to think about. And so I have a favor I want to ask of all of you. Help us make sure the right people are there. The event, it'll absolutely sell out. It's not that we need help, go market it, but when you see somebody who really needs to be there, then help us get them there. And that's the favor I want to ask of you. Here's how this is going to be. The weeks and months after the event, people are going to be talking about it and going, I was there. And so let's make sure that the right people are there to be able to say that, to be able to get the information they need to have. I am super excited about it. I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope I get to meet all of you in person at some point during the event. Roland, thanks as always for having me. You always bring the coolest people onto webinars. I love the interactivity and the jokes and the comments.
Yeah, people are saying that this was fun. They're enjoying it, and just to add that getting your friends or people who need to be there. The funniest thing is that when you invite them there, and they change their life, they put all this credit to you. I've seen that happen. This is amazing. We're great getting people to go to Eric's events or Tony's events, and then they come to us and thank, like, we've done all this transformation in their life. So think about people who you would love to have this experience, and you will be sure that they will come to you and thank you and give you a huge credit for changing their life. So that's for the last bit, and thank you for coming. See you at the next webinars at the live events. Bye-bye.